It's Driver's Seat with Tony Whitney and Nancy Gertzen.
This week I test a wagon version of a popular Japanese sedan, but does the four-cylinder have enough power? Nancy.
And I test a new small 4x4 pickup truck that's bound to make the competition just a little nervous. These tests and more all coming up as we put you in the driver's seat.
Brought to you in part by the helpful people at Shell, makers of Formula Shell, and Young Drivers of Canada, your license to survive. And now, Driver's Seat.
Hi, welcome to the show. This week we're doing a couple of practical vehicles. I've got GMC Sonoma pickup truck. It's practical, doesn't mean it's not exciting. Tony, you've got?
Well, I've got a Camry wagon, Nancy. I think yours is more exciting than mine. The wagon is very practical, but it's no sports vehicle, of course, so let's take a look at it anyway. There are still lots of folks out there who prefer station wagons to minivans, and for them, Toyota offers this, a station wagon version of its Camry sedan. It even has the same number of seats as most minivans. You can get 7 passengers in here. In recent times, the Camry has edged up market and prices have risen. With this in mind, the Camry wagon should be considered a combination of semi-luxury sedan and lavishly equipped people and cargo carrier. Our tester was powered by a 130 horsepower, 2.2-litre, 4-cylinder, 16-valve engine. A surprise for a large wagon like this, where you'd expect a V6 to be standard fare. In fact, the surprise was how well the 4-banger performed. It has to be one of the smoothest 4s around, and unless towing is a requirement, it'll provide all the performance most families will need. Even the 4-speed automatic transmission didn't detract too much from the Camry wagon's driving pleasure. There is a V6 available, but don't underestimate the thrifty 4-cylinder. From a styling standpoint, the vehicle's the same as a standard Camry sedan, right back to the B-pillar. This is the B-pillar. And then it becomes a station wagon. We've got this very handy roof rack. I like that a lot. What I don't like is the styling. This back window, I think, looks dreadful and ruins the appearance of the vehicle from a 3/4 rear view. Got a nice big hatch here, which thankfully opens with a latch, and 2 windshield wipers, so you get a lot of vision back there. This is how we get the extra 2 people in. As usual, there's 5 people in the other part of the vehicle. This folds back into the floor like this, has seat belts too. Forms a flat load area. We also have the usual folding back seat that all station wagons have. This one folds in 60/40 fashion. On the road, the Camry wagon is a very refined and comfortable package. I like the overdrive cutout switch on the shift lever. It provides just enough extra urge to tackle steep hills or passing maneuvers. I found the steering a little on the light side, but handling is good, though this is no sports car, of course. With nearly 75 cubic feet of cargo space and a ride like a luxury sedan, this is a vehicle I'd love to take on a long family touring trip. Sad to say, anti-lock brakes are only an option, but there is a driver's side airbag. One thing I like about the Camry wagon are the seats. In my experience, Toyota makes some of the best seats in the business. I also like the grey velour upholstery. It's very good looking and looks very hard wearing. Instrumentation is very good. Everything's very easy to reach. The dash itself is a little bland. The cabin is a little bland too, actually, but it's okay. We got a cup holder here, put a pair of coffee cups in there. Now up here we've got a sunroof, which is an extra on this model. It's got an interesting safety feature. It stops in case one of your kids has his head stuck through there. You have to press the button twice to close it fully. It's a good safety feature and typically Toyota. The Camry wagon will reach 100 kilometers per hour in a respectable 11 seconds or so with a 4-cylinder engine. Fuel economy is quite good at around 9.8 litres per 100 kilometers for all-round use. Price of a well-equipped Camry wagon is a not inexpensive $28,500, but they start at closer to $21,000. This is far from being an inexpensive vehicle, but on a scale of quality and roominess, it might be a best buy. It also offers most of the practicality of a minivan without the bulk.
Well, Tony, that's the thing. If I can get away without driving a minivan and go to something smaller that still meets all my practical needs,
a wagon's the best choice, and I think the Camry wagon is a great little package.
Well, I think so, and not everybody needs a van, and I often tell this to people, if they don't, I mean, even with 7 seats, they don't necessarily need a van if they can get this Camry wagon with those 7 seats. I mean, I'm not saying that you want to sit in the back, those little back ones from Moose Jaw to Tuktoyaktuk, but they're comfortable enough, and you can get all those people in if you want.
Well, we should say that the rear-facing seats are an option now. You have to add them to
Oh,
it.
absolutely, yeah. You've got to
come
pay extra for those, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I fit in those fine, but I can't imagine that you'd be comfortable for very long. But some of my size, it was fine. And one of the big pluses is footwell space. They've managed to do a nice recessed footwell and give you a lot of space there. Kids will be comfortable.
Well, that's right, and I think this is obviously a family vehicle. I mean, few people will buy one of these to carry 7 adults in. I mean, there you really do need a van for that, you know, to take people for runs to the airport or whatever. But it's beautifully made and very practical and so on. I mean, I don't think it's very exciting. One thing that did amaze me, Nancy, was that 4-cylinder engine. What did you think of that?
It was all right, but I have to confess, I never did pack that car up with, you know, 6 other people and tons of stuff and have things on the roof rack and so on. And I suspect if you did all of that and or were trying to tow something, maybe you'd be much happier with the 6, a little more power.
Well, I loaded one down with pretty well a full complement. There were, I think, 3 of them or 4 of them were kids. And there was some luggage and so forth and some junk around the vehicle. And it didn't seem to bother it too much. And what I'm saying here is not that this is the best possible engine for the vehicle. I'm saying that, you know, if you don't really need a 6, I mean, where can you use the extra speed? You know, not too many places really these days in North America. And, you know, the 4-cylinder will do most of what you want, and it'll be economical too.
Well, and you have the option. You can get the V6 on the LE trim level, so there you have it. The car had a lot of nice appointments too. It felt quite luxurious. A CD player, and there's actually room for the CD discs to be stacked. Every seating arrangement had overhead lights. Very comfortable. I didn't like the gray upholstery too much. It's that sort of velour fabric, and I don't typically like how
I'm
velour
not wild
wears.
about it.
So
the colour was okay with me, but I think black velour is terrible. You know, it's like it just picks up every piece of lint. One thing I can say about Toyota seats, and I've driven many a long, 1,000-kilometre drive in Toyota seats. They always make very good seats. They're very, very comfortable. I know that this vehicle would be good on long runs, and I did try it on a fairly long run, and I was surprised at how comfortable it actually was. Okay, time now to go to red light, green light. Okay, on the minus side, well, I didn't like the rear styling. Lots of people probably would. And I found the headrest awkward to remove to deploy the back seat load area. On the plus side, well, a huge load space once you did to get those seats down. And the car is beautifully built. There's a nice 4-cylinder engine. You can get a 6 if you want one. The reliability record of Toyota is very good, and the seats are very, very comfortable. If you're in the marketplace for a decent-sized wagon, we've got the VW Passat, the Volvo 850, 940, and 960, the Mercedes E320, the Subaru Legacy, the Ford Taurus and Mercury Sable, the Chevrolet Caprice, and the BMW 530 and 540 Touring. Those 2 are very expensive, Nancy.
So, Tony, what'd you give it for driving dollar value?
Well, mostly good. It's not kind of my kind of vehicle, but I give it 3/4 of a tank nonetheless.
Well, in sedan form, this is Toyota's #1 seller for the last couple of years, and I think a lot of the quality and success of that is carried over to the wagon.
Right on.
Stay with us. Coming up next, Behind the Wheel.
Fill up with Formula Shell and you'll get mileage no other gasoline can deliver.
Please ensure your seatbelt is securely fastened and seat is in the full upright position.
Because when you buy Shell products, you earn air miles, travel miles.
This is your captain speaking. Congratulations on earning enough travel miles to fly with us today.
Come to Shell for mileage.
Slim Jims, master keys, coat hangers, crowbars. In North America, more than half a dozen cars will be stolen in this commercial break alone. A car's life is not a carefree one. One exception, of course, is the new Volkswagen Jetta. With its standard anti-theft alarm system, you can rest assured that any unscrupulous interest in your car will be dealt with swiftly. Car thieves get 5 to 10, but you get life, and engineering too.
Does the idea of your teenager with a driver's license scare you? If you got your own license with 2 left turns and a lucky parallel park, no wonder you're nervous. Young Drivers teaches kids defensive driving, emergency braking, even head-on collision avoidance. The scary part is teens will get licenses. The comforting part is Young Drivers will actually teach them to drive. Young Drivers of Canada, it's your license to survive. See your yellow pages. Courses starting soon.
We're back with our consumer segment, and first, Nancy, a recall.
Right, we've got an interesting situation. We have two very similar vehicles being recalled for two very similar problems.
And it's even more confusing than that, Nancy. The GM recall is for Chevrolet Sprints and Pontiac Fireflies made from 1989 to 1991, and Geo Metros from 92 and 93. The problem is with a hood latch that needs strengthening to prevent the hood from opening at the wrong time.
Right, and almost at the same time, Suzuki's recalling 61,000 Swifts made between 89 and 93. Their hood latches have the same problem. Now, Tony, I know the Geo Metro is made by Suzuki, but the Swift and the Metro aren't identical vehicles, really.
Well, that's right, Nancy. They're more like cousins, really. Probably the biggest difference is the engines. All the Geo Metros have 3-cylinder engines, while Suzuki in Canada now offers Swifts with both 3- and 4-cylinder engines.
Right. Well, anyway, if you drive a Swift, Metro, Sprint, or Firefly made between 89 and 93, and you didn't receive a recall notice, you might want to check with your dealer, because having the hood fly up in your face is not, not a fun thing to have happen.
No joke at all, Nancy. No joke at all.
Right. Well, Tony, you're up next with the long-term update on our long-term test Corolla.
Right. Partway through, we turned in our loaded Tawny Rose Corolla with air and power windows and traded it for a more basic model with hand-crank windows and manual door locks. It was a beige car in more ways than just its color. A basic car, in fact. The styling looks good, it drives well, has lots of pep, and is definitely comfortable. Easy to drive and easy on gas. It has a nice tight turning circle that really came in handy several times. The interior is roomy, and even with the front seats all the way back, there's a lot of room in the back seat. And the trunk is huge too. One of the biggest complaints is with the trunk lid. There's no handle, and it isn't spring loaded, so you have to grab the bottom sill, which sometimes can be very muddy. Another complaint involved the steering wheel tilt lever. It's quite small and takes a surprising amount of effort to push it. The window cranks were hard to work also. Either they're in the wrong place for getting the right leverage, or else they're just very stiff, but lowering the driver's side window felt like cranking up a bale of hay. We definitely preferred the one with power windows. It's a pretty basic car, although the hefty price tag might lead you to expect a bit more. But don't be totally put off by that high price. For that, you get a jewel of a car, and if history is any indication, it'll have very good resale value. Now, Nancy, we've got something, I think, from BMW.
That's right, Tony. Well, ever since we reviewed the BMW 325i Cabriolet with a pop-up roll bar system, people have been writing in asking us how it works. It's also, by the way, standard equipment on the new 318 Cabriolet, and it's activated only if a crash is imminent. And the idea is to make sure that all of the occupants, but especially the rear passengers, are provided with the necessary head clearance should the car roll over. Just before the car rolls over, 2 protective rollover bars are projected vertically up behind the rear seats. It all happens within about 0.3 of a second. A sensor determines whether the vehicle is going to roll over by using measurements of vehicle tilt and whether the car has left contact with the ground, speed, and so on, and then the actuators kick in. Now, the extensions of the roll bar when the soft top is closed doesn't result in damage to the soft top. The soft top and rear window are only caused to bulge out by the bars. And same thing, if you have a hard top, there's enough clearance there for the roll-up bar so it won't damage the hard top either. And the rollover bar system is maintenance-free. A very interesting system, and perhaps we'll be seeing it on other vehicles. It remains to be seen. Coming up next, a review of the GMC Sonoma pickup truck. Stay with us.
For those who want to escape a gridlocked world, BMW has created the new all-season 325i convertible. It opens a whole new world, 365 days a year.
We're back with our second road test. Nancy, you've been driving something of a hot rod pickup, I hear.
That's right. This is the third compact pickup truck we've done this season, and the GMC Sonoma that I tested had the most powerful engine of all. Here it is, my test review of the GMC Sonoma pickup.
Hi, welcome to Rare King. May I take your order, please?
Hi, yeah, thanks.
I'll have a Whopper with lettuce, tomatoes, mushrooms, cheese, but hold the mayo. Thanks. Don't you just love your burgers best when you can have them your way? GMC's sentiments exactly when it comes to offering you their newest Sonoma compact pickup truck. The Sonoma is no plain Jane basic meat on a bun package. My Tester is a 4x4 in SLS trim with extended cab and short box. Color-keyed front and rear bumpers, grille and front air dam, and a lower body stripe are a sporty salute to what beats under the hood. Although the company says the Sonoma is all new, they do admit it has the same chassis as before. It's the rest of the trimmings that are new. My first and most significant driving impression? The Sonoma's new cabin is bright, roomy, spacious with good visibility, and to get this effect, GMC increased glass area for the cabin by 30%. And this Sonoma is nicely insulated from engine and wind noise, courtesy of a whole host of improvements, not the least of which is new double seals on the doors. That new, more aerodynamic shape also helps reduce noise levels and improves fuel economy. The Sonoma will get a respectable 14.7 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 10.1 on the highway. Prices for the Sonoma start as low as $12,000. My Tester stickered out at $26,093. The Sonoma is boasting the highest horsepower output in its class, this one having the high-performance Vortec engine, a whopper of a 4.3-liter V6 which puts out 195 horsepower at 4,500 RPM. But horsepower isn't everything. As you might guess, it sprints like Carl Lewis out of the starting blocks, but going uphill I found it hard to believe there were 195 horses under the hood. I sure couldn't seem to get at them all. On the plus side, for the first time, four-wheel ABS is standard equipment with all V6 Sonomas. Four-cylinder models have rear-wheel only ABS as standard equipment. It's the nemesis of every pickup truck maker to keep every pickup truck buyer happy in all situations, to give them a good ride on the highway without a load, on the highway with a load, on rough roads, and so on. I found that the ride in the Sonoma was comfortable all around, but if you know exactly what you're going to be using a pickup for, even better. You'll be able to work out the best combination of ingredients from GMC's Suspensions Are Us. Now that's just the suspension figured out. To go for the full meal deal, you still need to choose trim levels, box sizes, powertrains, and 4x2 or 4x4 drive. Inside, it's as modern as it is on the outside. And while you shouldn't really count on them for adult cargo, just to make a point, jump seats aren't just for kids. I like this little tray with a rubber liner that's nice and easy to wipe. There's drinks holders in the back, drinks holders in the front that apparently double for somebody as gloves holders. One thing I didn't like was this four-way flasher button. It was from the dark ages, cheap, plasticky, and stiff, but that's a small point. The headlights were interesting. You can turn on the park lights, headlights, and then press them all off with one simple press. And for the first time, a center high-mounted stoplight. So with all the choices that you have to make a basic truck into your own special vehicle, along with all the options and aftermarket goodies to tart it up to be really unique, you can see why pickup trucks like this Sonoma are quickly becoming the vehicle of choice for many buyers in the 90s.
New car sales 001, please. New car sales 001.
Hi. You know, I think I'd like to get it, but with the 4x2, and then I like the extended cab, so I'll pick that, but maybe I'll stay with the short box as well. And if I could get that 83 suspension package, I think that would be the best for me. And then also, does it come in pink?
Well, Nancy, you seem to like that one.
Yeah, well, the most amazing thing, of course, is that you get that amount of choice and variety, and the whole idea for GM developing a little method to help you pick the best suspension package is that you get the ultimate best ride and handling combination. So I think it's a good move on GM's part to provide the customer with a little guidance in that department.
For sure, it's a nice truck. You can get it pretty well any way you want. My complaints with this truck are the complaints I have with all highly powered small pickups, and that is that rear traction is quite quite poor. You've got so much power there, even though you won't be able to gather them all in, I understand, but you've got so much power there that in wet weather without a load in the back, which is the way a lot of particularly young people who buy them as sports cars, you can really break the back end away really easily.
Right, but that's a perennial problem, as you say, with a lot of pickup trucks, especially if there isn't a load on the back. I should clarify, too, that I said in my text that the chassis was pretty much the same thing. It is the same thing, but they strengthened it, and they got as much as 50% more torsional rigidity out of it. And I think that we notice a difference from the previous Sonoma. This one does feel more substantial when you sit in it, and I think something like that also helps for squeaks and rattles and
Oh, it does for sure, because there are some small pickups that rattle quite a lot. I'll also reiterate my usual comments about the fact that this is the only way to buy one of these with the extended cab. The other version of this with the small cab is very cramped. I found it very hard to work in and so on. There was no space for anything. This one has some of the best oddman storage, I think, in the industry in a small pickup. Right. It's really good.
And great seats. One thing GM did with the seats is they determined who had the best seats, which we call the benchmark seats out there, and they tried and tried and tried to top those, and over a couple of years they managed to do that. So they're very proud of those seats, and I have to admit that they are very comfortable.
Oh, they did a very good job with them. There's a couple of little details I don't like, again, that seem to happen in all these small pickups, and big pickups too. There's nowhere in the bed to tie low loads down into. Say it's a young buyer, the kind of person I just mentioned, a surfboard or something like that. It has to be strapped in some really complicated manner. There's there's no eyelets in the bed, and there's a couple of details.
But there's tie-down loops.
So, oh yeah, but they're way up high. If you got 10 2x4s in the bottom of the bed, you try and lash those down with those. It takes a lot of ingenuity. And some other details. Instrumentation is generally okay. I found the 4x4 warning light to be so bright it really irritated me.
Yeah, it catches your eye, pulls it away. I suppose after driving it for a while, sure, you'd get used to it. But yeah, I noticed the same thing. All in all, a nice compact pickup truck, and again, nice that they help you pick out the suspension for optimum ride and handling. On the red light side, what we didn't like, well, I complained a little bit about uphill performance. Tony didn't say either way. Green light, well, the powerful V6 engine was something to behold. The cabin was comfortable, bright, and airy. Four-wheel ABS with the V6 was a nice feature, and also, again, the variety of choices available. In the marketplace for compact pickup trucks, there's a Chevy S10, and Ford's Ranger. Mazda has the B3000 and 4000, sisters to the Ranger, Nissan's SEV6, and the Toyota SR5.
Very good. That uphill performance, I think with 195 horses, it should go up the side of Mount Everest, but maybe there was a kick-down problem on the transmission. Okay, yeah. What about driving dollar value, Nancy?
Driving dollar value, especially because of that uphill performance situation, I could only give it 3/4 of a tank.
3/4? Well, not too bad. Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're back, and now it's time to hear from another of our viewers. This letter is from Margaret McElhenney in Silton, Saskatchewan, who says she is curious about safety bags. She writes, "I'm told if you do have to use them, meaning airbags, it costs a great deal to have them replaced. Is this so? Also, how great an impact does it take to release them? Can it be done by instant or heavy braking, or must it be a considerable impact, Nancy?"
Well, it has to be considerable frontal impact, and certainly isn't going to happen under heavy braking. But the thing to remember is that if you are in a situation where your airbag deploys, you're not going to be thinking about replacement costs. Replacement costs are inevitably covered by insurance. There will be other car damage, and
the cost is not really a factor. The main thing is to be glad that you have the airbags. Drive carefully anyway. Remember that if you do have an accident that involves deploying an airbag, your car is going to be need a lot of repair anyway, so you're into some cost there, so
right.
Live with the airbag.
And also it's supplemental. Always make sure you are buckled up as well. If you'd like to send your comments to us, write to us at Driver's Seat, Post Office Box 3301, Vancouver, British Columbia, V6B 3Y3.
Now it's time to summarize our two test vehicles. First, the Camry wagon. Well, I didn't like the rear styling, and I thought the headrests were tricky to remove for creating the rear load area. On the other hand, huge load space, beautifully built, and a nice four-cylinder engine. Nancy, I give this one 3/4 of a tank.
Well, I liked the GMC Sonoma pickup truck. One down point, no airbags, and I had a problem with uphill driving. Other than that, it was a quiet ride. There was a variety of suspensions to be selected, and it had a great Vortec V6 engine. I gave it 3/4 of a tank for driving dollar value.
Great, all downhill from here. Next week I've got a Hyundai Elantra. Nancy, what have you got?
Well, I've got one of North America's most famous sedans, the Honda Accord EXR, new model.
Great, look forward to that. Well, that's all for this week, and thanks for joining us.
Join us next time and we'll put you in the driver's seat.